Hey guys! How are you guys doing? Hey. I am excited about tonight's live. I know you're like Tamika, you're always excited, but I really am. I really am tonight. Really am. Hi, Miss Vi. How are you? In the background, you are hearing I Worship 96 FM radio. Hey, T. Let me turn this down. I'm actually going to become a mom for a hot second. I do not know why I keep hearing this TV. They already know. Turn it down some more. See, when you do that, that takes away the thing that you just had to like scream on your kids, right? Yes. So like I'm contending and fighting with the kids. The dog is in the background. Diamond always has something to say. But I wanted to come on here very quickly and I wanted to talk about the three T is laughing. I wanted to talk about 3 reasons why my first 9 businesses, and yes, you read that right. You heard it right. My first 9 businesses failed. I wasn't saying 9. That's 9. I know it is. But I was just saying my first 9 businesses failed. And there's a lot more reasons, but I was fussing with the baby, Sharon. I mean, I've been telling them for the last 15 minutes to turn the TV down. You know, I'm like, listen, I share the sound space with everybody all day long. So the least you can do is when I get on my live is to turn it down. Don't smile at me. That's Amari.
My TV is enough.
They don't need to hear you. Be quiet. I hear a TV. I need you to go investigate and make sure it gets turned down. All right. So, if you guys haven't been following me on these lives for the past couple of days, Sharon says, I feel you, girl. Listen, okay? They have been awesome. Now, I do have the first, I think maybe 4 or 5 up on the website, TamikaHall.com. I worked really hard today, made sure that I got those up there for you. So, if you go to TamikaHall.com, listen, she needs to investigate. That's the baby. She likes telling people what to do. I call it using her gifts. She likes telling people what to do. So you need to go investigate, honey. Go tell people what to do. So the first 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 are on the blog. So if you, hey Auntie Boyd, Auntie Latanya Boyd, if you go to TamikaHall.com and you click on the blog, then you'll be able to access the first 4 lives that we've been doing. I have really made a commitment to try to blog every single day. Now, weekends, we don't know if that's going to happen, but definitely been trying to blog but to come and do a live with you every single day. And so today, I'm not going to be before you long. I always say that, right? But I really purpose to not be before you long. I actually was talking to T about this today, and I was saying to her, you know, this is what I want to talk about. And thank you so much, T. And you know, and so I was kind of talking to her about the things that I wanted to speak on today. And it's funny because I look at failure differently now. And you know, T is one person that can definitely tell you. I mean, there's a lot of people in my life that can tell you, but she's one that can tell you for sure. Failure has been something that I've been very much afraid of for years. You know, everybody that's very much in my close-knit circle, they all understand that failing, especially in business, is not something, you know, like my arm just scraped against this chair and I feel ashy. So you guys, I'm going to have to handle that because, you know, I have a little bit of OCD. I don't like bad odors and I don't want to be ashy. So you guys, I was just like, ooh, I feel like I made my elbow ashy. We have to handle that, honey, with my Dark Kisses. Yes, that smells good, right? Dark Kisses from Bath & Body Works. But okay, I digress. Back to what I was saying. Failure for me is something that used to be very, very scary because I really felt like I failed. Well, I failed 9 times, right? You know, 9 businesses. Like, these are things that were literally started put out into the atmosphere, put out into the world. Hi, Sarah, how are you? And T says a little OCD. You guys, I have problems. I really do have problems. But like I said, I'm a little bit OCD with bad smells. People have tried to pray for me on that, but I do have problems with that, and I don't want to be ashy. So you guys are just going to have to deal with that tonight, right? Hi, John. How are you? Oh, Sarah says, hi. I'm sure you didn't say it like that, but that's how I say it. Hi. So, but yeah, I failed in business 9 different times. I mean, these are businesses that were literally started. I advertised. Some of them I actually advertised in the newspaper. All of that stuff, and they literally failed, okay? And so, you know, I was thinking today, okay, what are some of the reasons why they failed? And, you know, what are some of the lessons that I've learned from the failure? So that's why I look at failure a little bit differently, and I'm not really afraid of it. I look at things thinking about, you know, sometimes things work out and sometimes they don't. You know, it really just comes down to that. I need to ask you guys very quickly, can you hear the TV in the background, or is that just my mommy OCD? Because before I dive into this, I want to make sure that I don't need to yell at the children again. Sharon says, thank you for being transparent about your failures. I'm definitely going to apply this to the world of dating. Yes, boo. Yes. I really do think that this can help with anything. Can you guys hear those TVs? And I know that there's usually a delay, so y'all don't understand, because I'm about to make them shut it down altogether. If you can do something for me, can you share this out with your people? You can't hear the TV. Thank you, Auntie Vi. You just saved their life, right? You just did. You just did. I don't hear it. I have my ear. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, Sharon. Failure, it's only a failure if you don't learn from it. And so I used to be afraid of something not working. And so now I look at it like that. It's like some things are going to work, some things aren't going to work. But I'm finding that the things that don't work, I always learn a lesson from it. And it doesn't mean that it necessarily failed. I mean, honestly, sometimes I've started something and it wasn't necessarily the right time. Or when now I'm learning to listen to God. I mean, this is actually a lesson I didn't even put down, but there are times where God will give me an idea, and I always have ideas. I always have something. He'll give me an idea, and I used to think that I had to run with it right then. And I'm coming to learn that sometimes it's for me to just research it, put things in place, and hold it like in the incubator until he says, okay, it's time for you to go ahead and go forth and do this thing. So I definitely look at failure differently. I look at it as learning lessons. So the very first thing, and I do want to say this while I'm transitioning my laptop screen, I do want to say, if you've never met me before, and I think everybody on here has, but if you haven't, I'm Tamika Hall from TamikaHall.com. I'm a worship leader first, but I'm also a gospel recording artist. I'm so excited that God allows me to record the music that he inspires me to write. And in my day-to-day life, I am a graphics designer, and I help faith-based authors all around the globe take their books, and we design it from the inside out, can translate it into Spanish for you, get it internationally distributed. So we have it available all over the world for you. And so if you're interested in that, you can go to Tamika Ink, and it's ink like the ink pen. And as you can tell, I love pretty things as well. So that's just a little bit about me. But let's talk about 3 reasons why my first 9 businesses failed. The first thing, and they're not necessarily in any type of order, but these are some of my biggest issues of the reasons why businesses failed. The first one is that I used to be very afraid of communication/confrontation. And in some ways, I was wondering if I should make those 2 separate lines, but I just went on ahead and put it all together because it was really all the same for me. It was one and the same for me. I was afraid to talk to people. And I know for those of you guys who know me, you're like, what? I didn't have a problem. No, let me just stop. You know, things happen to you when you're younger and people don't realize, but there is a part of me that can be very introverted. There's a part of me that can be, honestly, probably pretty shy. I've just learned to kind of push past it. And there's a part of me that likes to be very isolated. Which is so funny because everything that God has given me to do is about me going into the nations. So I don't understand why he made me this way, but he did. And so I used to be very afraid. I knew that I didn't want to work for somebody else. I knew I wanted to work for myself, but I was afraid of communication. And in being afraid, hey, Jermaine, and in being afraid of communication, I was afraid of the confrontation of the communication, if that makes any sense. You know, for one thing, I'm sorry, you guys, you know, I get comfortable now. I no longer feel the pressure of looking and acting perfectly on these lives. I said I'm going to be transparent, open, honest with everybody. And part of that is you see me when I'm chilling. I don't know why. I know you guys are going to be like, Tamika always has this black scarf on. It is my favorite night thing. Sometimes I fall asleep in it. I do wash it, so it doesn't stink. It smells great. I just told you guys I have OCD about odor. But you guys will probably always see me in this scarf. It is like my favorite thing. It's like my security blanket. So I always have it on. I don't know what it is. But anyway, so I was afraid of super scarf. Yeah, that's the way I feel. So I was afraid of the confrontation. I've come to learn that confrontation is not a bad thing. I mean, I used to think confrontation was like, don't you ever say nothing to, you know, I used to think it had to be like that. And even though I'm loud, and I wear my feelings on my sleeve, people tend to think that I'm very confrontational in a bad way. But confrontation means that you confront a situation. So sometimes with confronting a situation, it is speaking to a client. If you're in ministry, maybe what you're having to do is confront the fact that God is wanting you to be in front of people. So I don't know if it means that you're preaching or you are singing, but it is confronting a situation. So it's not always a bad thing. Hey, Molly. Hey, Pretty Lee. How are you guys doing? I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. So when it comes to communicating in business, I can't think of one business where you don't have to communicate in some form or fashion with somebody. I mean, I was like, maybe the person who collects worms for fishermen. But at some point, you need to be able to communicate with people who are buying the worms. I mean, I don't know. I can't think of one business that you run where you don't have to communicate with somebody. And it's so funny. I told you guys I'm getting comfortable. Hey, I have found where in working with people now that I'm not afraid of communication or confrontation, where I will work with them and they'll say, okay, set up a website for me or set up my social media, but I don't want to talk to anybody. So if somebody inboxes me on my Facebook page, and that's when I used to do that. I don't have time to do it anymore, but when I used to be a social media manager and I would manage people's social media accounts, I used to have folks who ran lucrative businesses who would say, I don't want to talk to people. So if I get an inbox or somebody DMs me, then I want you to give it to me. So I would be the go-between between this person who say, hey, I want to buy your service. I want to pay for your service. I want to pay for your product, and the actual business person. Well, that used to be me because I didn't like talking to people. And I had to think about why was that the issue. Some of it was because I was afraid of discussing price. So if you're running a business, if you're in the type of ministry where honorariums are required, here's the first thing. If you're running a business, you're going to have to get comfortable with what you are worth. When I became comfortable with understanding that I offer a service and that I offer a superior service, because I work very hard to make sure that whenever people get something from me, that it is of the utmost quality that I can provide, and I understand that there is a value that comes with that, I no longer have a problem speaking about what the value of that service is. I've also come to understand that some people are not going to want to, they're not going to want to pay for that, and I'm okay with that. I no longer, and I will just put it this way, I no longer pimp myself out just for the sake of saying I have a client, because I have to make sure that whatever takes me away from my children, whatever takes me away from my home, whatever takes me away from my ministry, whatever takes me away from building my own brand. Thank you, T. Adrian says, amen. Whatever takes me away from that, it has to be valuable and it has to be worth my time. And it's okay for that. And I'm okay with that. The other thing is, I used to be afraid of disappointing people. So because I was afraid of speaking to people, oftentimes I didn't didn't want to call them, right? I didn't want to speak to people on the phone. So I would try to communicate by email. But then when people would email me, I wouldn't open the email. So people would be emailing me questions. And honestly, when I went back and looked at them later, they were simple questions where it's like, hey, can you change the font on my on the title page of my book? But because I was afraid of confronting everything, I wouldn't even answer the emails. So then I would have people angry. And I remember one time this lady was like, will you please respond? I mean, like in all caps. Are we back? Can you guys see me? You guys, this happened last night where I'm telling you, the live was so good. We were breaking things off, destroying things, and then all of a sudden, Facebook went haywire on me. So I need to know, can you guys hear me? Can you see me? Let me know before I continue. Yes? Okay. Auntie, I think that you're saying that you can see me on here. Can you guys type in a 1 if you can see me? Let me know that you can see me. Let me know. Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. Great. All right. I don't remember exactly what I was saying, but yes, I do. I used to be afraid to even open the emails. So I was losing money. I was losing clients. I was losing residual income because word of mouth sometimes. Ever since I went back into business for myself full time and I think it was 2014 that I went into business for myself full time. I've literally never paid for any advertising for my business because I finally mastered communication. And you know, it actually took my good friend T. I was working on a book for her very first book, and I lumped her with everybody else. Like, I did not like disappointing people. And so it was 2015. Okay, thank you. And so I used to, I would put these unrealistic time constraints and deadlines on myself. And then because I didn't deliver, I would feel like everybody else would be mad at me. And so I remember I was working on her book, and then I got mad at her because she was like, well, I'm going to take my book to somebody else and have them edit it. And I was like, how rude. You guys know I'm dramatic. So I just was like, I can't believe you. I'm working and you don't care about me working. Like, I had a whole hissy fit. And so then she was just like, Tamika, I didn't know you were working because you never responded. Now, mind you, I would be talking to her every day. But when she would try to talk about this book, I would talk about something altogether different. Or if she would send me a text, I wouldn't respond. Or if she would send me an email and be like, hey, what's going on with the book? I wouldn't respond. And so finally, the one thing that she said to me that really, it blessed my life. It literally changed the way that I do business. She said, people don't get mad if you are upfront and you talk to them. You know, she was like, if you just say to them, hey, listen, I needed more time. She said, then people aren't upset. I know for a lot of you guys listening who don't have communication problems or you're not afraid of confrontation, you might think that that was a really small thing. That thing shifted the way that I do business. It totally shifted how I do business because it freed me from the personal bondage that I put myself in, that I had to please everybody 100% of the time. And I was holding myself to a standard that other people weren't. So I began communicating. I started letting my customers know ahead of time, hey, listen, I'm still working. I need you guys hear them, right? I need a little bit more time to work on your book or whatever it was. It shifted everything that I do. You guys, customer service is still king. I don't care what people say when it comes to digital media and all of that stuff. And my business is all really online media and things like that. My business is all online. And people still love communication, whether it's a text, whether it's a phone call. And when you're building clientele, you'll come to understand who your clients are. You're going to find some clients who they want to hear your voice. Hi there. I see you guys hitting the, hi, Latia. Hey, boo boo. How are ya? I see Minister Dotsy there. Thank you so much for joining in here. So I'm finding people still love communication. So if you're building a business, if you're building a ministry, for God's sake, communicate with people, right? They will love you for it. They will think that you are the best thing since sliced bread because you are open with communication. And believe it or not, there are so many people who are in business and they are horrible with communication. Just communicate. If you, and here's what I learned, and I promise I'm going to move on from this. When you get good with communication, it actually safeguards you and your business. So this is what was happening because I wouldn't open emails, or because I wasn't telling people, hey, I'm still working, or I just wouldn't communicate at all. When there would be situations that would take place with somebody's book or what have you, Caprice says, say that. When there would be situations that would arise, because I had not been communicating, I didn't have a paper trail. I had nothing to say, hey, listen, I've been communicating with you about X, Y, and Z. So guess what? Tamika communicates about everything. If I find that there's going to be a situation where something's not going to go right with, what we initially discussed. First of all, here's this. Be upfront about your pricing. Be very upfront. If somebody asks you for something more than what, and this is actually going into my next thing, but it's all lumped together, right? So my next point is not understanding the power of no, and I'm going to get to that. But be very upfront about everything. So if I have a certain price point, if somebody says to me, like for example, if somebody says to me, Tamika, I have a book, I have 50 pictures that are going to be in this book. Well, guess what? I'm going to let you know right now, like immediately, this is my base price for books. But because pictures are so difficult to work with, I charge X amount of money for adding pictures in a book. Do you get what I'm saying? So whatever your business is, you need to discover what is it that you want to charge people for. If you understand what you're charging for, you understand the service that you're providing, you understand your value, you will not have a problem talking about price. And this is what I found. People who want quality are not afraid to pay for that. Do you get what I'm saying? They are not afraid to pay for the quality. They want to know up front. Nobody likes feeling like it's Spirit Airlines. I hate Spirit Airlines. And I can say that because it's my personal page. But Spirit Airlines, I just spit. Spirit Airlines, I cannot stand that airline. It is like layaway for airplane tickets as far as I'm concerned. You'll get a ticket for like $100, then they charge you $50 to $75 for your bag. They charge you for your actual seat. Honey, if you want some peanuts, they're going to charge you for peanuts. Like, I cannot deal with it, right? So never say you didn't ask that in business. That's bad business. Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, nobody likes to feel like they're being nickeled and dimed for everything. So if you know for a fact what it is that you charge, you understand what your value is, you understand the service that you're providing, the moment that somebody begins to ask for something more than that, you stop them and say, okay, it sounds like what you're asking for is X, Y, and Z. So that's the way that you can really speak to your clients. It sounds like you're asking for this. Well, my base fee covers this. If you're in ministry, okay? For example, if you're a gospel artist, right? Number one, if you're an artist and you have a hard time asking for an honorarium, maybe you'll get somebody else who is willing to do that for you, right? It doesn't even always have to be that maybe you're not ready for management, but maybe it's somebody that you trust to handle your business affairs that can kind of be the communication for you. I have a hard time speaking about money when it comes to ministry, but I do understand that what I do has value. Do you get what I'm saying? So for example, this happens all the time for, I'm sure, musicians, singers. Oftentimes people will bring you in and say, okay, we want you to come and sing 2 songs. Okay. And then you make an agreement based off of what was asked, right? Oh, Latanya says you need a publicist. Yeah. And maybe I'll do a live about how to know when you need each one of those things. And then sometimes when you get there, you'll have people who they'll make you do the whole entire praise and worship service. You find yourself doing altar call. You're in place of the choir. So now we've stepped outside of the scope of what we agreed on, right? And you have to get comfortable with understanding the power of no, right? So one of the things that was horrible for me in business is I didn't know how to say no. So I would give people a base fee for anything. And people will do what you allow them to do, right? People are going to treat you how you allow them to treat you. So people would constantly say, hey, well, I need this and I need this and I need this. But because I wouldn't say, okay, well, that's going to be extra, they never offered. People are not going to offer to give up their coins. You have some people that will, but 9 times out of 10, they are not going to offer to give up more coins. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you need to understand the power of no. No is not a nasty word. No is not a bad word. No is a beautiful word for you if you use it correctly. No is a complete sentence, okay? It is the beginning, the middle, the end. It is the climax to a story. It is the perfect period on the end of a situation. No, 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 no. And then once you learn how to say no, be okay with the fact that you've said no. That's the hard part. We can say no all day long. Be comfortable and be okay and release yourself from feeling guilty because you could not accommodate something. Here's the thing. Sometimes you don't want to do something. That's okay. I would rather somebody let me know, listen, I don't want to do this. Or find a nice way of saying it than for you to show up and then you make everybody feel like, you know, you're so grand because you chose to do something that you didn't want to do. No, don't do that. So sometimes you don't want to do it. Sometimes you can't do it because maybe you have other obligations depending on what it is. Sometimes, you know, what they're asking is beyond the scope of what you offer. Be comfortable with saying no. There is power in that, right? Also being able to say no when it comes to your business, since we're talking about business and also ministry. And when it comes to the ministry, I guess I'm speaking to creatives that are in ministry. You know, those who are creative, you're working in music ministry. I guess anybody who gets an honorarium, right? When you understand the power of no, no basically helps you to set boundaries, okay? So sometimes you're not even saying no. Sometimes you're saying not right now. Sometimes you're saying, okay, I understand what you're saying, but it can happen, but not like you're saying. Do you get what I'm saying? So no helps you to set boundaries around what it is that you're doing. If you let people know what it is that you will and won't do, then people are less apt to get angry with you and to feel like you're not forthcoming with your information, or, you know, they don't feel like you think that you're a diva or something. Do you get what I'm saying? And sometimes people are going to just think that they're going to think that you feel like you're a diva. Whatever. You know, be nice to people, you know, be genuine, love people, you know, love God's people. That's what we've been called to do. And if you're treating people the right way, sometimes you can't help how they feel. And, you know, I'm sorry that I made you feel like that. That's not how I am. And then move on, right? Here's my final thing. 3 reasons why my first 9 businesses failed. I talked about being afraid of communication and confrontation. I talked about not understanding the power of no. And actually, T, you broke it down very well. So I don't know what number I'm up to right now. But this one is huge. Sharing my vision with the wrong people killed my first couple of businesses for different reasons. And of course, I said I put these in different orders, but so there's 2 different types of people, right? There's probably more, but for the sake of tonight, I thought of 2. The first one, sometimes you share your vision with the wrong person, and they will take your vision and they'll run with your vision. Some people are dream stealers. Some people are vision snatchers, right? And I don't care who it is. I have had in the past some of my very best friends listen to a dream and a goal that I had, and literally within a year take it because they had more money, they had more time, they had more support, and develop my dream. And then had the nerve to ask me to help. And because I didn't understand the power of no, what do you think she did? She helped. I helped build my vision that somebody else stole. I mean, they took everything because I shared my vision with the wrong person. I thought that they were a best friend, right? And so I broke it all down, everything that I was planning to do. And because I didn't have the resources at the time, because it doesn't mean that it wasn't for me to do. I just think it wasn't meant for me to do right then. God was probably showing me something for the future, for me to research and all those things. But because I felt like I needed to be affirmed by people, I told the wrong person. You need to pray about who it is that you are allowing into your space. Hi, Latoya, how are you? Hi, Cynthia, how are you? You gotta be very prayerful and watchful of who is in your camp. Because sometimes these people who can be best friends, they can be family. They will steal your vision, they will steal your dream, and they will develop it on their own. I've had it happen to me probably 3 different times. So sharing your vision with other people can undoubtedly kill your dream. It can kill your business. So if you have a business, you've shared a piece of your business, these people, hi Jacqueline, how are you? These people will take what you've done, they'll develop the products before you do it, because like there are things, you know, I'm a coach, you know, I'm a writing coach, so I coach authors. I'm a business coach, so and right now God has put a lot of women in my life that I am mentoring, and I'm coaching them to discover what their dreams are. But guess what? I am not a vision stealer, because God has already given me my assignment, and I am comfortable in what it is that I'm doing. Do you get what I'm saying? So I literally have women that will sit down with me for a whole hour, and I will help them map out exactly how to accomplish their entrepreneurial dreams, right? And the thing is, and I'm not tooting my own horn. I just want you to understand. Cynthia says the devil's in the details. Absolutely. I want you to understand this. I guess because I've failed at business so many times, I've come to understand how to accomplish a lot of things, right? And God is good, because a lot of times I'm like, Lord, I don't know how to do this stuff, but I know that it's coming from you. So this is why you got to be careful, because there are people that you can lay out your vision for them. They won't tell you how to accomplish it, and they'll turn around and do it. I'm not telling you to be afraid of the entire world. I'm telling you to be prayerful and to be watchful of who it is that you are sharing your stuff with, right? Be very careful about that, because there are people who know how to do what you want to do. And some people don't have vision. So when they hear what you're doing, then they're like, that's a great idea. I know exactly who to talk to get this done. You know, and then they'll get it done. And I'm telling you, because it's happened to me at least 3 different times, it is a hurting thing when family, best friends take your dream and they live it. And then they turn around and ask you to help them build it, right? It is a hurting thing. So you don't want to go through that. And then finally, under the scope of sharing your vision with the wrong people, I want you to understand, yeah, T says business leeches. Absolutely. There are snakes in the grass. Hey. There are snakes in the grass. One of my businesses, I connected with a person who I thought was just an amazing business mentor. I was like, this person is running their own business. They are very successful. They're making money. And listen, when you're running a business, it's about making money. Like, obviously, we want the fulfillment of running business and all of that stuff, but you want to make money, right? And so I connected with this person, and this person in probably about 3 weeks managed to completely strip me of my self-esteem. I walked into the situation thinking that I was a boss babe. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, she knows what she's doing, and this person's just going to help me to get from here to here. But because I connected to this person, they took glory in manipulating and making me feel like I did not know anything. And I'm telling you, it took only maybe 3 weeks for me to feel like I couldn't do anything. And when that business collapsed for me, I did not do business for 4 years. And every time something would come along about business, I didn't want to watch it. I didn't want to hear about business, because I felt like the ultimate failure. Okay. I had this person tell me, well, I won't go into detail because I don't know if they're watching, but I will say this. You need to be careful about who it is that you're connecting to, because sometimes they are snakes in the grass. And the thing is, they come in very cunning, right? They slither in. You think that they're meaning you good, and before you realize it, you're acting differently. You're treating people differently. You're handling business differently. You used to be connected to God. I'm trying to tell you, because snakes in the grass, I've never found a snake to draw me closer to God. I personally haven't. If you have, say something. But before you know it, everything that you've been doing is totally different. And it feels contrary to who you are as a person. So it's so important to understand who is it that I'm connecting to in a business, right? This person didn't try to take my business. They just tried to make me feel bad, like I needed them for everything, right? Took credit for the successes that I had, and didn't allow me to trust the process and to grow. Okay. So at different times, like that's really good for you to understand. If you're planning to connect yourself to a mentor, pray about that thing. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that for you to connect yourself to me. That is not what this is about. This scope is about telling you the reasons why my business has failed. If God speaks to you and says, hey, I want you to work with Tamika, great. But that is not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to tell you how I failed in business. So whoever it is that you're connecting with, you're partnering with them. I don't know. Maybe you're thinking about opening a space together. Is this person good with money? Right? Yeah. Hi, Cheryl. How are you? I love you too. Thank you so much for being on. Is the person good with money? Do they pay their bills on time? Do they treat people around them the right way? Do they handle their financial responsibilities the right way? You better be careful about who you connect with, right? You got to be very careful. So let me quickly recap. If you got anything that you want to say, please go ahead and put that in there. Hey, Sanchez, how are you? Yes. Sanchez is awesome. You love that shirt. Okay, I gotcha. Sanchez is the CEO of Christ Life. So if you go to shopchristlife.com, you can connect with him. He makes amazing shirts as well. He is awesome, and I love his ministry. Okay, you said, I love that shirt. What sizes do you have? My shirts go up to 4X. So if you go to shoptamikahall.com, if I could have one of my scribes, God has blessed me with so many people that are willing to write for me. Can you type in www.shoptamikahall.com? And any shirt that you see, they go all the way up to 4X. As small as extra small, all the way up to 4X, okay? And this one right here actually is a 2X. I need to put a belt on her. Honey, you see we got some little shoes here. I'm going to be having a blowout sale because I have these shoes. I got 2 pairs of these that are totally brand new, honey. I got to get rid of these things. Hi, Tia. How are you? Hi, Prophetess Letitia. How are you? Thank you, T. ShopTamikaHall.com. So, yes, any shirt that you see there, and you'll be able to pick whatever size it is that you need. And so I would love for you to rock some of my stuff. So, again, some of the reasons why I failed in business, afraid of communication and confrontation, right? Confrontation is not a bad word. It doesn't mean that you're going off and acting like, Cookie from Empire. That's not what that means. Now, sometimes you got to put people in their place. I love you too. I love you too, Prophetess. Sometimes you got to put people in their place. But if you get comfortable with talking to people, and you get comfortable with communicating with people, then you will have all your ducks in a row that if somebody says you didn't do X, Y, and Z, you can say, yes, I did. This is why I'm not giving you a refund. This is why I'm giving you a partial refund. Whatever it is, be upfront. Be upfront about everything. And like I said, and you'll want to go back and listen to this, be upfront about what you charge. If there's a change in it, if you have to change something, be upfront. And I've really found, ever since I've really adopted that, and I tell people, hey, listen, this is what I charge for this. If I find that something changes, I let them know immediately. And I have not had one person not work with me because of that. As a matter of fact, people have often said, thank you so much for being very upfront. If people say, hey, Tamika, can you do X, Y, and Z? If it's something that they can do on their own, a lot of times I'll say, listen, I can do this for you. I'm going to charge you this, but you can do this for yourself. And I'll be very honest with you. I have people all the time that are like, I don't want to do it. I want you to do it, Tamika. You know what I mean? So be very upfront. People like it. They like it. Hey, Diamond. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you, Prophetess Letitia. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Number 2, not understanding the power of no. No helps you to set up boundaries around your business, around your personal life, and all that stuff. So learn the power of no. Understand the power of no and understand what that does for you. It will free you up. And then release yourself from the guilt of not being able to accommodate everybody in your life. You just can't do it. And it's okay, right? Finally, sharing my vision with the wrong people has been some of the reasons why my businesses have failed, right? Sometimes people will take your vision and they run with it. And sometimes you have snakes in the grass who have been sent to manipulate you and to kill your dream, to kill your own self-worth, to kill your self-esteem. I know, because that is exactly what happened to me. Listen, I thank you guys so much for joining me. If you want to see any of the other lives, yes, Tia says true. Absolutely. Absolutely. You want to see any of my other lives? I have 4 of them up on TamikaHall.com. If you click on blog in the tab, then you will be able to, you'll be able to see some of the past ones. Oh, thank you guys so much for the hearts. I don't even know who's giving me all of those, but thank you. I love y'all. So, the ones that are up right now, I'm talking about the one thing that people do that stops success. That's one of them. That's up there. The 4 ways I deal with fear and anxiety. And I'm telling you, that was powerful. Hi there, Tiffany. How are you? Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. The one says, but does it make you happy? How many times have you done things and it doesn't make you happy, and you hold yourself hostage even though it doesn't make you happy? That's a good one. And finally, and I'll have more up probably tomorrow, is stop apologizing for being great, right? Stop apologizing for it. It's in our DNA to be great. So all of those are there. Yes, thank you, T. Go to www.TamikaHall.com, click on blog, and you'll be able to see the most recent lives. Listen, I love you guys. You guys have a blessed night, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow.